what those first couple of slides really represented. The administrative teams and the teaching staff, the certificated staff members focus on making sure that all students are available to learn. So the next organizational change that we launched this year, new to the district, was the launch of the revised middle school schedule. And our 3 middle school principals are here to give an update on the launch of that new schedule, what changes we've already made, and where we are looking for the future.
So with the first couple months of the new schedule already in place, what we've realized is we're right about where we thought we would, recognizing some of the issues that still need to be addressed, as well as some of the positives that have come about with the new schedule. Mr. Curry and I had an opportunity to attend a scheduling workshop with a guru 2 weeks ago, who went through a variety of different scheduling options. There's some pretty obscure and some pretty wild schedules out there throughout the country and throughout some other countries that he showed us. And what we really found was that, from a structure standpoint, bell schedule-wise, we have a pretty solid model here, and he agreed. We still recognize that there's some other components that still need to be sorted out, but from a structure standpoint, we're in a really good place, and he liked what he saw from what we had to offer. Mr. O'Lawson's been contacted from some outside districts to already come and check out the schedule structure that we have, because they're looking to implement it. And just at the table that Mr. Curry and I were at when we were at this professional development, we had 2 school districts from North Jersey taking pictures of our schedule from our website as something to take back and possibly explore. So they had some questions, and they may be reaching out to us to visit in the very near future. But some operational items that we were able to accomplish, we found that with the new adjustment in time, starting slightly earlier and ending a few minutes later, has had a positive impact on the busing situation. In all of our schools, it seems to be much smoother. There's road closures and things like that happen from time to time that are out of our control, but generally speaking, our arrival and dismissal times are running pretty smoothly. Elimination of homeroom hasn't really been a general concern. We're still working through trying to make sure that all of the students throughout the course of the building can hear the morning announcements. If you're in a phys ed class and changing in that first part of the day, it might be a little difficult to hear. So we've all taken different methods and steps in our own buildings to try and address that issue, and sharing some with each other. Also, meetings that usually took place during that homeroom period, some of those, the coaches and advisors have taken different steps to try and remediate that and still meet with the kids in the morning time before missing any class time. We have found that with shortening the schedule from 11 periods down to 7, with a lunch, we found that those transitions have been positive because there's less flow in the hallway and less disruptions throughout the course of the day. The passing time going from 3 minutes to 2 has been quick, but it is manageable in most cases. There still are some concerns with some students getting from one end of the building with physical education classes back to their communities, but the teachers have been flexible in accepting them into their classes. And in some of the school districts that we talked about in the scheduling, they have no passing time. So they were happy to know that we even had some built in with this schedule. And the length of the lunch periods minus the first couple days changing over to the new system has proven to be adequate, giving the students enough amount of time and having them throw out all of their trash and dismiss to lunch before they have a little too much downtime in that particular period. Class length has been received generally positive across all disciplines. ELA is still adjusting to that time adjustment, going from the 80 to 60, but for all the other courses and all the other content areas, they've received that consistent 60-minute block as a positive amount of time for middle school students. And again, ELA is continuing to work and adjust to that adjustment in time frame. Community and common planning has provided teachers and support staff an opportunity to meet together. Guidance counselors have had an opportunity to meet with more grade level teachers, and it's had a more positive impact on our INRS process in identifying kids who may need additional services or may have some additional issues taking place that's communicated amongst all of those community teachers. And has allowed for some other discussions to take place with administration and other staff members in a common time. Advisory is continuing to evolve. Just from first marking period to second, there's been some significant adjustments to that time period. Opening the makerspace and media center during certain times to allow students in advisory access to those spaces so that they can do some of the things that they need to do on their voluntary choice projects. That's been received generally positive between the feedback we've received from the first marking period and the second. Independent reading continues to be one of the most popular options for the students that they choose across in their advisory period. That seems to be a pretty common theme that we've seen in all of our schools. And the Spark project continues to evolve And we continue to emphasize the importance of students participating in that voluntary assignment so that we can have a nice event at the end of the year where we can showcase some of the work and some of the personalized learning that we're trying to incorporate in that period that you learned about a little bit earlier in the presentation. The community and the exploratory cycles have increased the exposure that the kids are getting to their classes and to different courses that will help them make better selections as they're possibly choosing their high school courses and pathways. So, you know, they're in the second marking period of those, so there's still time to develop that, and some kids need some more time to be exposed to some different courses that they may like more than others. But we have found that it's going to be positive for them to choose courses going into the high school, particularly with our 8th graders. There is a planned update to our study skills curriculum in the spring, so that's one of the courses that the students take in 6th grade that will already be adjusted, based on some of those curricular revisions. Phys Ed and Health has really received the schedule positively. That increase in time has given them a significant amount more time to do some stretching and sport-specific stretching and sport-specific skill activities in the Phys Ed period, where it used to be so short with changing out, changing in and changing out, that it was a lot of gameplay. So now they're able to do more skill and stretching development prior to transitioning to gameplay. And they've also found that it has increased participation with the length of time and being able to, in some cases, consolidate just one grade in the gym as opposed to, in some cases, combining 6 and 8. We're finding more participation from the 6th graders in that regard. So they've been really positive about that. And the adoption of the world cultures classes has really provided an additional option for some other students with their world language choices that better suit, their particular needs when it comes to a world language or a cultural immersion class. So.
I think one of the most important parts of this is from the beginning of recreating this new schedule was the collaboration and work with all the parents, teachers, community members, students to get all their input. And now that once we have created this new schedule, we really wanted to continue that process. And a lot of the things that Mike has spoken about has been feedback that we've gotten over the course of just since September, since the new schedule has been rolled out. I know Mr. Scarano, Mr. Olson, and myself have met with student groups, we've met with teacher groups, we've met with parent groups to make sure that if there's anything we can evolve, change, adapt to make the schedule even better, we will certainly be open to doing those things.
Yeah, and along those lines a little bit more, because I know advisory is a topic that comes up a lot, and what I would say is that what advisory looks like in the beginning of the second market period was even very different than it did look in the first market period. And we were pretty open about that from the beginning. We knew this was going to be a work in progress. One of the things we needed was our teachers, our staff, to actually experience it a little bit, because it was brand new for them as well. It's not an instructional period for them, it's actually a duty period for them, so they are facilitators. And in terms of students, very new for students. And a bit challenging for some in terms of personalized learning and not having that real direct instruction, but they have to set their own goals, they have to do their own reflection. But because it's challenging, it is a positive. One of the things in terms of it looking very different in the second market period, we met, I guess it was in October, with our directors, ed techs, media specialists, all the principals, central office staff. We took a lot of feedback, and again, what the result of that was something that looked very, very different in the second market period. Typical student during advisory, other than the independent reading piece, has upwards of 40 personal learning opportunities that they can choose from on any given day. So there's a lot to offer for them to explore, and it's something that we're going to continue to tweak.
And I think Mrs. Morales is going to highlight some of those choices later in the presentation. But I do know that Mr. Lawson was very excited to host the administrators and teachers from Homedale. Their middle school representatives came to visit Thorne Middle School here in Middletown a few weeks ago to learn more about our new schedule. I know you were excited, and they walked away with a lot of good ideas, very interested and very surprised to see some of the nuances that we incorporated into our daily schedule, and looking forward to being able to replicate that in Homedale. And I know Colts Neck has reached out to us. They were a partner with us last year, and they were excited to see the changes we made to learn from those as well, so that they could enhance their schedule aside from the North Jersey districts that have already reached out to us here in Middletown.
And real quick about that Homedale visit, one of our biggest challenges with the middle school schedule was the fact that we were losing 20 minutes in language arts, and picking that up in advisory with independent reading. When Homedale came, there was actually an English teacher there. It's from the SAT school, and I asked how many minutes they have. They only have 43 minutes for language arts. So they're kind of hoping to go in the other direction. So.
Thank you.